I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me, so deep in my heart that you're really a part of me.
A psychologist walks around a room while teaching stress management to an audience. As she raised a glass of water, everyone expected to be asked the half-empty or half-full question. Instead, with a smile on her face, she inquired, "How heavy is this glass of water?" Answers called out ranged from 8 ounces to 20 ounces. She replied, "The absolute weight doesn't matter. It depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, I have an ache in my arm. If I hold it all day, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed." Each case, the weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. She continued, "The stress and worries in life are like that glass of water. Think about them for a while and nothing happens. Think about them a bit longer and they begin to hurt. And if you think about them all day long, you will feel paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. Remember to put the glass down." So in this little story, you have a glass representing stress. And the idea is to put, if you carry this stress around long enough, it's going to be a burden, heavy burden on you. But stress is not, it's not a glass of water that you carry around. And there's no such thing as stress, really. I mean, this stress is the idea of what's happening to you. I'm feeling stressed, or I am stressed. And anytime you start a sentence with "I am," you're creating what you want to be. But more than that, it's not that you're creating what you want to be, it is the phantom identity. Some being inside of you wants to create stress. And stress is nothing more than fear in the will. So this phantom idea that's causing the stress, the ghost, the cartoon that's causing this idea, is there somebody inside you causing stress. There's somebody inside you making you feel stressed, proclaiming, you're whatever the deal was, you're feeling paralyzed or incapable of doing anything, or you're worried about stuff. It's not stuff. Be clear about that. It is the person inside your head that is speaking from the emotional wounds that you've had and represents and encapsulates the emotional wounds that you've had, the traumas, dramas, bumps and bruises that we catch along the way. So how can you let that burden down? Well, first you have to recognize what it is. It's not an external situation. It's an internal representation of a past situation, a past actual thing that happened. And they're ghosts, they're cartoons, they're like, something else is hurting you. That's why you need pot or whiskey or whips or rubber suits or, screaming music so loud that you can't think. Why there's it seems like there's a dark lord trying to get you, or bombs are falling on your head, or whatever it is. And here's the confusing thing. Those people, that representations in your head are all saying that they're speaking to you out of love. And this is a very confusing thing, because our parents who loaded us up with identity and separation were also the ones that were loving to us and caring for us. So we have this loving, nurturing, and angry, separating, punishment kind of thing. It's all mixed up. So love, pain, it's all mixed up. And you know, who suffers for it? The little kids suffer for it. And so this identity, I remember it was a panic state. It's a panic state of separation. And so it has to gather proof and understanding and reality, and has to justify its existence, this panic state called identity. So one of the things it does is there's a saying, he who does not fill his world with phantoms remains alone. The sense of suffering, the sense of separation that was encapsulated by an archetype, encapsulated by an identity, has to gather around it more of that, feeds on that, and it grows on that, and becomes established as that representation of, and representation and maintaining of the wounds that have happened to our will and continue to happen because they're representations of the original event. So letting that burden down is more about bringing those archetypes, bringing those events back into play, from your subconscious into your conscious, and dealing with them one by one, event by event, person by person, and dismantling it, resolving it, and vibrating what was died and encapsulated and caught and imprisoned, vibrating that back into life and freedom. That's what Language Lessons of the Heart is all about. So, but the way that we interpret it in the world with a psychologist is they say, oh, you're stressed and you have worries. And no, somebody is stressing you. Somebody is worrying you. Somebody is making you afraid. And you can't let that down. You can't let stress down. You can't let go of stress because it's a person. It's a person, an internalized phantom, an internalized aspect of self representing the loving parent and the angry, rageful parent. They're both the same. So what to do? I've spent 2 videos talking about the situation called Intentionality, Archetypes, Archons, and what rules your life. And I focused a lot on the bad because that's the stuff that you don't want. So how do you counteract this? Is you have to make your subconscious conscious. And my next video is going to be on the beginning of that process. So I want you to think, okay, you got all this bad intentionality, you got these bad self-image beings, and blaming and raging and sabotaging and backstabbing. You got all that stuff, okay? But you also have a strong intent to heal. You have a desire to be fulfilled. You have a desire to live unencumbered, uninfluenced by anything other than your own heart. And that's also an archetype. That's also an aspect of your being. That's also part of who you are. To feel whole. To heal the hole in your heart and to be whole. And it is entirely possible, because the same way you got hurt is the same way you're going to get better. And yeah, it's very, very, very simple, but it is hard because, you know, how do you sort all that stuff out? But it's a step-by-step process, and I'm going to explain that in the next series of videos, next few videos on how to do that. So you can have a strong intent to heal. You can. There's a part of you that wants to be a detective, that wants to be a defender, that wants to right the inner wrongs, to heal the past and make a bright future for yourself. There's a part of you that does that. That is on your bus, and the bus is your intentionality, and you are on that bus, and you can become any player on that bus. You can confront your bad self-image. You can confront any self-sabotage that you have going on out there. All you have to do is decide, it's time for me to be on the hero's journey. It's time for me to right what's wrong. It's time for me to clean out all the old junk that's in my house, that's on this bus, so that I go where I want to go and be who I want to be. It's that simple. But that's a movement you have to make. You have to make that movement of, I want to love myself in that way. There's part of me that's hurting, and I want to take care of it. I want to stop that. I'm tired of dragging around this heavy burden of hurt and worry and stress and self-condemnation for my whole life. You're an adult. It's time to let go of that stuff in the right way, transform what can be transformed back into love, and let go of stuff that's stuck that will never be transformed into love. That stuff should just go, because you are love. You came from love, and you're going to return to love. And all that other stuff, if it's not loving essence, if it's not loving, it goes. It can go somewhere else and work out whatever it's got to work out. So, the next video is going to be on how to empower yourself. It's an empowerment, and that's an exercise to do. And hopefully you have done the polarity flip-flops, because polarity flip-flops is the warm-up exercise so that you can feel, not only in your head, but in your heart and your will and your body and in your circumstances. You can feel how the influences of polarities, of words and polarities, affect your life and move you from the past to the present to the future. This is really important to do that warm-up exercise of polarity flip-flops before you do your empowerment exercise. So, all right, the cavalry is coming. You can marshal your troops. You can gather as much good intentionality as you have bad intentionality. More. I mean, you're an infinite being. Remember, you got that infinite being, and you're multi-dimensional, polyphrenic, infinite kind of person. You are, and that's why this is entirely possible, because you got born into this illusion, and you can transcend this illusion. You can incorporate this illusion into reality. So there's all that's left is reality in the end. That's what you want. You want to be whole. You don't want to be fragmented, pushed around. You want to be the king of your kingdom, and not the beggar at the door of your kingdom, with all these advisors being the king in the king's place.